Hello, and thank you for coming to listen. Tonight, we do not hurry. We turn our backs on the noise of the present day and move slowly through a single steady question. How did people, together, move mountains of stone into order? Imagine a wide, soft plain beside a great river, where the mist still clings to the reeds. Here, tents are laid in careful rows, silent and white against the sand. Here, teams wake with the same dawn breath. Food is carried in quiet trays, ropes are checked with calloused thumbs, and messages pass on low calls that barely disturb the air. Thousands of hands fold into a single, patient rhythm. There is no spectacle here, only the steady geometry of many small choices. We will watch a day that looks ordinary up close, yet becomes astonishing from afar. A man arranging a coil of cord, a woman marking a line in a ledger, a child carrying a clay jug of water, each small act adding to a long, slow design. Breathe with this steadiness. Let each ordinary motion become a slow bell that eases your mind. For the next hour, we listen to the world that built a wonder, gentle, human, and entirely present. You arrive before the full light has claimed the sky. The world here is painted in shades of deep indigo and soft, dusty gray. You are standing at the edge of the encampment, a vast grid of sleeping fabric and packed earth that stretches out toward the horizon. The air is cool, holding that specific crisp chill that only exists in the desert just before the sun breaks. It touches your face with a clean, dry weight, smelling faintly of the river silt and the cooling embers of last night's fires. The camp is not silent, but it is quiet. It possesses a low, rhythmic hum, like the sound of a large animal breathing in its sleep. This is the sound of thousands of people resting in unison, a collective stillness that feels heavy and safe. To your left, the great river flows north, a wide, dark ribbon that reflects the fading stars. It is the constant companion of this place, the liquid clock by which every life here is measured. You can hear it lapping gently against the muddy banks, a soft, wet slap hush that underpins the silence of the desert. Slowly, the light begins to change. The indigo bleeds into a pale, bruised violet. The shapes of the tents begin to define themselves. They are not chaotic. They are arranged with purpose, creating long avenues of shadow and sand. As the first hint of warmth touches the upper air, the camp begins to wake. It does not wake with a shout or a start, but with a fluid, organic motion, like a tide coming in. You see a flap of heavy linen pushed aside. A hand emerges, dark against the pale cloth. Then a figure steps out, wrapping a shawl tighter against the morning chill. Then another, further down the line. Then another. The tents seem to unroll like slow waves across the plain. There is no urgency in these movements. These are people who know exactly what the day holds, and they meet it with a practiced calm. Small fires begin to bloom in the semi-darkness. They start as tiny sparks, struck from flint or coaxed from the coals buried deep in the sand pits. Then they catch. Small tongues of flame lick upward, turning the gray air into pockets of warm amber light. The smoke rises in thin, straight columns, undisturbed by wind, carrying the scent of burning acacia wood and baking dough. Watch the people as they emerge into this amber glow. They stretch their limbs, working out the stiffness of the hard ground. You see a man extend his arms high above his head, his silhouette framed against the brightening sky, holding the pose for a long moment before exhaling and letting his arms drop. You see a woman sitting on a low stool, binding her hair back with a strip of cloth, her fingers moving with blind familiarity, twist, tuck, pull. They attend to their bodies with simple efficiency. They splash water from clay bowls onto their faces, the sound of the water splashing soft and sudden in the quiet. They rub oil onto their arms to protect against the sun that is to come. They tie simple cords at their waists. Focus on the cord. It is a humble thing, a length of twisted fiber, rough to the touch, but strong. Every person here wears one or carries one. It is the tool of connection. You watch a young man tighten his belt, pulling the knot snug. He tests it once, a small tug, satisfied. It is a small gesture, but it signifies readiness. He is binding himself to the day. He gathers his wooden bowl, the smooth grain worn dark by years of use, and steps into the lane. The soundscape of the camp is shifting now. The hush of sleep is replaced by the soft shuffle of sandals on sand. Scuff, scuff, scuff. It is a gentle percussion, thousands of feet moving on the earth. There are low murmurs of greeting, voices still rough with sleep. Peace to you. And to you. The words are barely whispers, intimate and brief. And then you hear it. The pulse. From the center of the administrative district, a single drum begins to beat. It is not a loud martial sound. It is not a demand. It is a soft, deep resonance, a low thud that you feel in your chest almost more than you hear with your ears. It hangs in the air, vibrating. Doom. It counts out the morning, slow, even, unhurried. It is the heartbeat of the project. It tells the bakers to open the ovens. It tells the water carriers to lift their yokes. It tells the haulers to find their teams. It creates a grid of time that overlays the grid of the tents. Listen to the space between the beats. In that silence, you can hear the birds waking up in the reeds by the river. You can hear the distant bray of a donkey. You can hear the crackle of the acacia wood. The drum does not rush them. It simply aligns them. As the sun finally crests the eastern ridge, spilling gold across the tops of the tents, the camp is fully awake. But it is calm. There is no panic, no rushing. There is only the steady, inevitable forward motion of a multitude, moving as one, ready to begin the work of the stone.
The drum has set the tempo, and now the body of the camp moves toward its heart. You drift with them, carried by the gentle gravity of hunger and the promise of sustenance. You move toward the smell of the fires. It is a rich, grounding scent that fills the morning air, the smell of yeast waking up, of dark grains baking on hot stones, of sweet onions charring slowly in the embers. It is the smell of safety. You arrive at the serving lines. Do not imagine a chaotic crowd pushing for scraps. Instead, witness the quiet, woven order of a river finding its course. The workers form long, patient columns that snake between the bakeries and the eating circles. The sun is low, casting long shadows that stretch out ahead of the men, pointing the way. Watch the mechanism of distribution. It is a dance of hands. At the front of the line, broad wooden trays are stacked high. They are piled with loaves of emmer bread, dense, round, and heavy. These are not airy pastries. They are bricks of energy, baked to fuel the lifting of stone. You watch a tray being lifted. The movement is seamless. A baker passes the tray to a server. The server turns and offers it to the line. There is a rhythm to the exchange. No one grabs, no one snatches. A worker steps forward, extends his hands, palms open, waiting, and receives his ration.
focus on this specific moment of transfer. It is more than just feeding. It is a moment of silent acknowledgement. The server looks at the worker. The worker nods. Take, the gesture says. Receive, the hands reply. It is a chain of trust that runs through the entire workforce. The bread is warm, radiating a heat that seeps into the calloused palms of the men, waking up the nerves in their fingers. Look closer at the details of the nourishment. Beside the bread, there are bowls of thick, nourishing beer, closer to a gruel than a drink. It is rich with sediment and sweetness. A woman stands by a large clay vat, holding a ladle. She is the anchor of this station. Watch her. She dips the ladle, a deep, hollowed gourd, into the vat. The liquid makes a heavy, sloshing sound. Glug, drip. She lifts it, fighting the weight with a practiced grace. Steam rises from the vat, curling around her wrists, ghosting her fingers in a pale, white mist. She pours the serving into a worker's bowl. The stream is dark and smooth. She does not spill a drop. Her focus is absolute. To her, this bowl is not just food, it is the strength that will place a block later today. She wipes the rim of the bowl with a cloth before handing it over. That small act, wiping the rim, is a gesture of care. It says, "You are worthy of a clean vessel." Weaving through the forest of legs and waists are the children. They are the runners, the water bringers. They are small, but their purpose is large. You see a boy, perhaps 10 years old, carrying a jug of water balanced on his shoulder. The jug is made of porous clay, cooling the water by evaporation. Listen to his movement. Pat, pat, pat. His feet are bare on the packed earth. Because he carries a burden, his steps are careful and rolling, heel to toe, to avoid jarring the water. He moves through the crowd like a fish swimming upstream. He does not shout to clear a path. The men simply know he is there. They sense the smallness of him and step aside, opening a channel for the water to pass. He reaches a group of older men sitting on a mat. He lowers the jug. He tilts it. The water rushes out, clear and bright, catching the morning sun. It splashes into a cup. The sound is high and musical, a stark contrast to the low rumble of the conversation. Splash, trickle. One of the men reaches out and pats the boy's shoulder, a heavy, dusty hand resting gently on a small, bony frame. It is a silent thank you. The boy smiles, hoists the jug, and moves on. Now observe the eating circles. The workers do not eat standing up, rushing to be done. They sit. They reclaim their humanity before the labor begins. They sit cross-legged on woven reed mats, forming small circles of 10 or 12. These are their teams, their families of choice. The volume of the camp drops here. It becomes a murmur. Watch a man breaking his bread. He tears the dense loaf slowly. The crust resists, then gives way. He dips a piece into a bowl of stewed lentils and onions. He lifts it to his mouth. He chews slowly. There is a meditation in the eating. He is staring out at the horizon, or looking at the hands of his neighbor, or simply closing his eyes to taste the salt and the grain. He is fueling the machine of his body. He respects the fuel. The conversation is low. You catch fragments of it drifting on the breeze. They are not talking about the great geometry of the pyramid. They are not talking about the king or the stars. They are talking about the small things that anchor a life. The river is high today. My sandal strap needs mending. Did you sleep well? The onions are sweet. It is a hum of domesticity. It is the sound of a village at breakfast. It grounds the colossal task in the reality of the ordinary. You notice the sharing. A man breaks off a piece of his ration and slides it onto the tray of a younger man who looks thinner, hungrier. There is no fanfare. The younger man does not make a speech of gratitude. He simply eats the piece. The debt is noted in the heart, not in a ledger. This is how the mountain is built, not just by stone, but by this invisible mortar of care. The light has turned fully gold now. The steam from the bowls rises up and disappears into the blue sky. The meal is nearing its end. You hear the soft clatter of wooden bowls being stacked. Click, clack. You hear the brushing of crumbs from laps. The energy shifts. The heavy, sleepy relaxation of the meal begins to tighten into readiness. But it is not a stressful tightening. It is the feeling of a runner tying their laces. It is the feeling of a craftsman picking up a tool. You watch the woman at the vat one last time. She sets the ladle down. She wipes her hands on her apron. She looks out over the sea of heads, watching the people she has fed. She takes a deep breath, inhaling the steam and the dust. She has done her part. She has fueled the day. The camp stands up. The motion is like a field of wheat standing up after a wind. They brush off their knees. They check their belts. They turn their faces away from the fires and toward the sight. The nourishment has settled. The strength is there. The bread motif has done its work. Now the hands are ready for the rope.
The meal is finished. The warmth of the bread is settling in the belly, grounding the body. Now the attention of the camp shifts from the internal need for food to the external need for readiness. You walk with the men away from the cooking fires, moving toward the staging grounds where the equipment of the day waits in quiet piles. Here, the air smells less of smoke and yeast and more of the earth itself, of dry grass, ancient dust, and the deep, resinous scent of raw timber. You stop beside a low bench made of rough-hewn palm logs. This is the domain of the binders and the keepers of the gear. It is a place of textures. It is a library of physics written in fiber and wood. Your gaze settles on the most essential tool of this entire endeavor, the rope. It is coiled on the ground like a sleeping serpent, a massive spiral of pale golden fiber. It is thick as a man's wrist. It is not a single strand, but a marriage of hundreds of papyrus reeds or palm fibers, twisted together with immense force until they act as one muscle. Reach out your hand in your mind. Touch the surface of the coil. It is rough, but pleasantly so. It has the texture of a dried field. It is hairy with loose fibers that tickle your palm. It feels dry and warm, having stored the heat of the sun from the days before. Run your hand along the length of the coil. You can feel the spiral ridge of the twist. It is a rhythmic texture. It tells a story of tension. Somewhere, weeks ago, hands twisted these fibers, locking them together. Now you are feeling that stored energy. You watch a man approach the coil. He is a hauler, a man whose life depends on this fiber holding true. He does not just grab it, he greets it. He squats down, his knees popping softly in the quiet air. He picks up the end of the rope. Watch his hands. They are scarred and broad, the skin thickened into a natural leather that matches the toughness of the tool. He runs the rope through his fingers, checking for weakness. He is looking for fraying. He is looking for rot, the soft spots where water might have weakened the heart of the cord. But he finds none. This rope is healthy. It is stiff with strength. It resists his bend slightly, springing back when he lets go. It is alive. He finds a knot near the end of the line, a loop spliced back into itself to create a handle. He tests it. He hooks his thumb through the loop and pulls. Creak. Listen to that sound. It is a tiny, dry groan. It is the sound of fibers biting into each other. Friction is the glue that holds this world together. The harder he pulls, the tighter the knot grips. It is a paradox of physics. Stress creates security. He releases the tension. The rope relaxes. He nods.
He lays the loop down gently on the sand, arranging it in a perfect circle. He treats the rope with the respect one would offer a partner. There is no carelessness here. A tangled rope is a delayed stone. A neat rope is a flowing river. Now lift your eyes to the wooden tools resting on the bench. There are no screeching metal gears here, no engines. There are only the simple mechanical advantages that nature provides, shaped by human patience. Look at the rollers. They are short, thick logs of acacia, stripped of their bark and polished to a shine. They are dark, the color of deep molasses. You can see the grain running straight and true through the wood. Imagine running your fingertips over the surface of a roller. It is smooth as glass. It is cool to the touch. It has been rolled over sand and stone 1,000 times, and the friction has sanded it down to perfection. It is heavy. If you were to tap it with a knuckle, it would make a solid, dense sound. Thunk. These rollers are the wheels of the pyramid. They turn the impossible friction of the desert into a glide. They are waiting in a neat stack, a pyramid of wood waiting to move a pyramid of stone. Beside the rollers lie the mallets. They are simple clubs, carved from a single piece of hardwood. Look at the handles. This is where the history of the work is written. The handle is not straight. It is worn into faint undulations that match the fingers of the user. The wood is lighter where the thumb rests, polished by the oils of the skin. It shines with a dull satin luster. A workman picks one up. His hand slots into the worn grooves perfectly. Clack! He taps the head of the mallet against his other palm. It is a light testing tap. He is checking the balance. He is remembering the weight. There is a profound silence in these tools. They are inanimate, yet they feel charged with potential. They are waiting for the kinetic energy of the morning to begin. You see a lever, a long, straight pole, tapering at one end. It is scarred with deep scratches near the tip, where it has wedged under tons of limestone. But the wood is not cracked. It has been oiled to keep it flexible. It smells of cedar oil, a sharp, clean scent that cuts through the dust. The rhythm of the camp is made of these small, careful checks. It is not a rush to the quarry. It is this preamble of inspection. Check the fiber, check the wood, check the knot. It is a ritual of safety. By touching the tools, the men are waking them up. They are transferring the warmth of their bodies into the cold materials. They are establishing the connection. I will guide you, and you will help me. You watch a team of 3 men preparing a sled. The sled is a heavy wooden frame, like a giant tray without wheels. They are checking the runners on the bottom. They run their hands along the underside, feeling for splinters or stones embedded in the wood that might cause drag. Sweep, sweep. The sound of hand on wood is a soft shh. It is the sound of smoothing. One man finds a rough spot. He takes a small stone, a piece of sandstone, and rubs it against the wood. Scritch, scratch. He sands it down until it is flush. He blows the dust away. Whoosh. Everything must be smooth. Everything must flow. The scene is a tableau of quiet competence. There is no supervisor shouting orders. The knowledge of the tools is in the hands of the workers. They know that a frayed rope means a stopped line. They know that a cracked roller means a tipped stone. So they take this time. They take this slow, deliberate 10 minutes to ensure that the physical world is on their side. You feel a sense of reassurance watching them. It is the comfort of seeing professionals at work. It is the comfort of knowing that the foundation of the wonder is not magic, but maintenance. It is the rope coiled correctly. It is the wood oiled and smooth. The wind shifts slightly, rattling the dry palm leaves of a nearby shelter. Rattle, click, but the heavy ropes do not move. They sit solid on the earth. The tools are ready. The connection between the hand and the object is made. The static potential is about to become movement. But for one last moment, everything is still, poised in the perfect balance of preparation.
We leave the staging ground now, Stepping away from the heavy, tactile world of wood and rope, we move toward a different kind of structure. It is not made of stone, but of thought. It is the quiet architecture of the mind that holds the mountain together. You walk toward a row of smaller shelters, set slightly apart from the noise of the teams. These are open-sided canopies, shaded by thick woven mats that filter the sun into a cool, striped twilight. Here, the air is still. The dust of the camp does not seem to settle here. This is the domain of the scribes, the keepers of the count. You watch a man sitting cross-legged on a clean reed mat. He's the stillness at the center of the turning wheel. His posture is upright, his spine straight, his breathing almost invisible. Before him lies the instrument of his trade, the ledger. It is a scroll of papyrus unrolled across his lap like a pale beige river. Listen to the sound of the papyrus as he smooths it flat. It is a dry, crisp sound. It sounds like dried leaves or the skin of an onion. It is fragile, yet it carries the weight of the entire project. He places a smooth, polished stone on the top edge to keep it from curling. Click. The stone settles. The page is open. Watch his hand as he reaches for his palette. It is a simple wooden board with two circular depressions, one for black ink, one for red. He dips a slender reed brush into a small pot of water, then swirls it into the cake of black soot. The motion is circular and hypnotic. He is waking up the ink. He is transforming the dry dust into liquid language. He lifts the brush. The tip is saturated, gleaming, and dark. He brings it to the scroll. He does not hesitate. The sound of the reed on the textured paper is intimate. It is a scratching whisper. He is marking a column. He is recording the morning. Look at what he writes. These are not grand proclamations of kings. They are the humble, necessary truths of the day. He marks the arrival of a team. He marks the number of copper chisels issued. He marks the delivery of onions. It is a rhythmic accounting. It flows like a song. Each mark is a tiny anchor that holds reality in place. Because he writes it down, the chisel will be returned. Because he writes it down, the baker will be paid. There is a profound sense of calm in this recording. In the chaos of a construction site with thousands of souls, this man ensures that nothing is lost. He is the memory of the camp. You see the texture of the papyrus up close. It is a grid of fibers, vertical and horizontal, pressed together. It mirrors the grid of the camp outside. The order on the page creates the order on the plane. Now watch the couriers. They are the nervous system of the site. They are young men, lean and quick, who stand waiting at the edge of the shade. They do not speak. They watch the scribe's hand. The scribe tears a small piece of limestone flake, an ostrakhan, from a pile. He paints a single symbol on it. Perhaps it is a picture of a sled. Perhaps it is a number. He hands it to the courier. The exchange is silent. Extend, grasp, turn. The courier turns and steps out into the sunlight. He does not run. Running would imply panic. He walks with a swift, gliding purpose. His bare feet make almost no sound on the sand. He is carrying an instruction. Move the third team to the east. Bring water to the quarry. You watch him weave through the heavy, slow-moving groups of haulers. He is like a needle threading through cloth. He delivers the stone flake to a foreman. The foreman looks at it, nods, and hangs it on his belt. The message is received. The body of the workforce adjusts. Return your days to the scribe. He dips his brush again. He is marking the rations now. He is counting the loaves of bread we saw earlier. It is a comforting thought. Every person here is accounted for. No one is anonymous. If a man is missing from the line, the empty space on the papyrus will notice him. The ledger is a soft, human map. It remembers who came. It remembers who is sick.
It remembers who has earned their rest. You feel the atmosphere of the tent. It smells of dry reeds and the metallic tang of the ink. It feels cooler than the rest of the camp. It is a place of concentration. The scribe pauses to sharpen his reed. He uses a small knife to whittle the tip. Slice, slice. The tiny shavings of reed fall on his lap. He brushes them away. Brush. He tests the point on his thumb. It is sharp again. The work continues. There is a beauty in this bureaucracy. We often think of lists as boring, but here, a list is a form of care. A list means that someone is paying attention. A list means that there is a plan. You imagine the thousands of lines of text being generated today. They are the invisible threads that tie the stones together. Before a block can move, a word must move. Before a ramp can rise, a thought must be written down. A shadow falls across the mat. Another foreman approaches. He speaks in a low murmur, respectful of the quiet. The western ramp needs more sand. The foreman nods. He does not look up immediately. He finishes his stroke. Then he dips the brush in the red ink, the color of alerts, of changes. He makes a note in the margin. Scritch, line, dot. It is noted, he says softly. His voice is dry and calm like the paper. The foreman leaves, satisfied. The anxiety of the problem has been transferred to the scroll. The scroll can hold it. The scroll can hold anything. You listen to the ambient sound of the tent again, the wind rattling the edges of the mat, the gentle breathing of the scribe, the wet sound of the brush in the ink pot, the dry sound of the papyrus rolling up. He closes a section of the day. It is done. It is fixed in time. You realize that this quiet, seated work is just as physical in its own way as the hauling of stone. It requires a steadiness of hand. It requires a straight back. It requires an unshakable mind. The scribe looks up for a moment, his eyes scanning the horizon, watching the dust rise from the quarry. He is the captain of the ship, steering it with a reed brush. He blinks slowly, wetting his eyes, then looks back down. The next line waits to be written. The next moment waits to be captured.
The ink has dried on the ledger. The order has been given. Now we move from the quiet shade of the administration tents into the bright open air of the work itself. We walk toward the base of the rising structure. From a distance, the pyramid looks like a single solid geometry, a shape made by gods. But as you come closer, the illusion of solidity breaks down into something far more human. It resolves into millions of individual pieces. It resolves into a mosaic of effort. We are not looking at the giant casing stones today, those massive white blocks that require hundreds of men to move. We are looking at the core. We are looking at the packing stones, the rougher, smaller limestone blocks that make up the heart of the mountain. These are stones that a team of 2 or 4 men can handle. Step into the line. The ground here is uneven, a landscape of gray chips and white dust. The air is thicker here. It holds a haze of fine powder that softens the sunlight, turning the sharp shadows into blurred, gentle shapes. Listen to the sound of the work. It is not a cacophony of banging. It is a low, repetitive percussion. It is the sound of stone meeting stone. It is a dull, dense sound. It does not ring, it settles. It is the sound of weight coming to rest. Watch a team of 4 men working with one of these rough blocks. They are moving it from a sled onto the layer. They do not lift it with their backs. They glide it. They stand around the stone. They breathe in sync. Inhale. They grip the edges. Their hands are wrapped in linen or leather pads to protect their skin from the sharp limestone. Exhale. They shift their weight forward.
Slide. The stone moves. It scrapes against the stone beneath it. Shgrrr. It is a sound of friction, heavy and dry. It moves 6 inches. Then they stop. They reset their feet. They breathe again. Slide. Another 6 inches. It is a slow, hypnotic inchworming of the material. There is no throwing, no dropping. Every movement is controlled. They are treating the stone with a heavy, respectful patience. You watch them guide it into its final resting place. A gap waits for it, a space between 2 other blocks. A mason stands there with a small pot of gypsum mortar. He pours a slurry into the gap. It looks like thick cream. Slop. The mortar will act as a lubricant now and a glue later. The team gives one final push. Heave. The stone slides over the wet mortar. It slips into the pocket. Thump. It kisses its neighbors. It stops. It has moved from being a loose object to being part of the monument. It will not move again for 4,000 years. There is a satisfaction in that final thump. It is the sound of completion. A small problem, an empty space, has been solved. Look around you. This scene is repeating in 1,000 places across the plateau. It is a fractal of labor. Teams forming slow chains. Lift, slide, set. The motion is calm and repeated. It creates a visual rhythm that is soothing to watch. It is like watching the weaving of a basket, but on a geological scale. Focus on the dust. Every time a stone is set, a small puff of white powder rises into the air. Poof. It hangs there for a moment, suspended in the heat. It catches the sun, glowing like a halo around the workers. Then, slowly, it begins to fall. Dust falls in slow curtains. It settles on the shoulders of the men. It settles on the ropes. It settles on the ground. It acts like a hush, dampening the sound even further. The work site feels muffled, wrapped in this blanket of pulverized earth. You watch a smaller line of workers, the basket carriers. These are often younger men or older men, those whose strength is not in the heavy lift, but in the steady carry. They are carrying woven reed baskets on their shoulders. Creak, creak. The baskets are full of limestone flakes. A man tilts his basket. Rattle, hissed. The stones pour out like a dry waterfall. They tumble into the cracks, finding their own way down, settling into a tight interlock. It sounds like rain falling on a tin roof. It is a light, chattering sound that plays over the deep bass notes of the heavy blocks. He taps the bottom of the basket to clear the last dust. Tap, tap. He turns back to the pile. He walks with a steady, rocking gait. He is not rushing. He knows that the pile is large, but he also knows that his basket is steady. This is the secret of the pyramid. It is not magic. It is not aliens. It is simply the accumulation of these small acts. One basket, one slide, one thud. If you watch for 1 minute, it seems like nothing is happening. A stone moves a foot, a basket is emptied. But if you were to watch from the sky for an hour, you would see the level of the structure rise. You would see the organism growing. You feel the vibration of the ground through your sandals. Thump, thump. It is the heartbeat of the construction. It travels up through your legs. It grounds you. It connects you with the physics of the site. The sun is climbing higher now, warming the stone. You can smell the scent of the limestone. It smells ancient, oceanic, and dry. It smells of the seabed from which it came millions of years ago. The men are moving the ocean floor, piece by piece, into the sky. Observe the hands of a mason as he checks the level of a stone. He holds a simple wooden A-frame with a plumb bob, a a string with a weight hanging from the center. He places the frame on the stone. The string swings back and forth. Swing, swing, slow. He waits for the string to stop. He watches it align with a mark on the wood. It is perfect. The stone is flat. He nods. He picks up his tool. He moves on. There is no applause. There is only the quiet verification of truth. The wind picks up slightly, blowing across the uneven surface of the unfinished layer. It makes a low whistling sound as it passes over the gaps and the edges. Whoosh. It cools the sweat on the workers' backs. They pause for a second to let the breeze touch them. Then they lean back into the weight. There is a camaraderie in this silence. The men do not need to speak. The stone dictates the conversation. The stone says push, and they push. The stone says stop, and they stop. They are listening to the material. You stand there, a ghost in the dust, witnessing the dignity of mass cooperation. You realize that the wonder of the world is not the shape of the pyramid. The wonder is the patience. The wonder is the ability of 10,000 people to agree on a single center point and work towards it, one heavy, sliding, thudding step at a time. Let the rhythm of the work lull you. Slide, set, rattle, hush. The dust settles. The mountain grows. The morning moves on.
We turn our backs now on the dust of the construction site. We leave behind the dry, rhythmic thud of stone on stone and the white haze of the limestone chips. We walk toward the east, down the long, gentle causeway that leads to the water. As you walk, the air begins to change. The sharp, dry heat of the plateau softens. A new scent drifts toward you, riding on the breeze. It is a complex, earthy smell. The smell of wet, dark mud, of drying papyrus reeds, of fish, and of deep, cooling water. It is the scent of the river. You arrive at the banks of the Nile. Here, the world is green and blue, a stark contrast to the amber and gray of the desert. The river is immense. It is a mile wide, a moving road of dark, silken liquid that flows steadily from the south. It is the lifeblood of this entire endeavor. Without the river, there is no stone. Without the river, there is no bread. Stand on the wooden dock and look out. The water is busy, but like the camp, it possesses a serene, organized flow. You see a fleet of barges resting in the harbor. These are not delicate skiffs. They are massive, flat-bottomed vessels built from thick planks of cedar imported from distant mountains. They sit low and heavy in the water, their hulls dark with pitch. Focus on one small barge preparing to depart. It has slipped its heavy mooring line. The rope, the same golden fiber we saw earlier, splashes softly into the water as it is cast off. The boat drifts away from the dock, caught gently by the current. It is moving silently at first, surrendering to the pull of the river. On the deck of the barge, a team of rowers sits in readiness. They are not rowing yet. They are watching the water. They are watching the surface of the river like a familiar clock. They know how to read the swirls in the eddies. They know that the river has a pulse, and they are waiting to sync their labor with that pulse. A coxswain at the stern taps a wooden rhythm stick against the gunwale. Click. It is the signal. The oars lift. They are long, heavy sweeps of wood, polished by salt and sweat. They rise in unison, dripping water. The drops fall back into the river like a sudden rain. Drip, drip, drip. Then, the dip. Plunge. The blades enter the water. There is no splash, just a clean slicing entry. The wood bites into the liquid. Then, the pull. Heave. The men lean back. The wood of the oars creaks against the leather thole pins. Creak. It is a sound of leverage. The barge surges forward, pushing a bow wave of white foam ahead of it. Dip. Pull. glide. Listen to this rhythm. It is different from the staccato tapping of the chisels. It is longer. It is fluid. It is a lullaby of transport. You watch the barge move out into the main channel. It carries crates of copper tools, perhaps, or baskets of dried fish. It is a supply vessel, keeping the city of workers fed and equipped. Further out, you see the true giants, the stone carriers. These barges are immense. They carry the casing stones of white limestone from Tura across the river. They sit so low in the water that the waves lap at the very edge of the deck. They do not use oars. They rely on the wind and the sail. Look at the sail. It is a vast square of linen, bleached white by the sun. It billows out, catching the northerly breeze that blows constantly against the current. The sail fills. It curves into a perfect belly of cloth. It is a trap for the wind. The boat is suspended between two forces, the river pushing it north, the wind pushing it south. The pilot navigates this balance with a subtle turn of the great steering oars. The movement of the heavy boats is majestic. They do not bounce or rock, they plow. They possess a momentum that seems unstoppable. To watch them is to feel a sense of inevitability. The stone is coming. The river is bringing it. Close your eyes and listen to the water against the pilings of the dock. Lap, gurgle, hush. It is the sound of the mud drinking the river. Smell the silt. It is a rich, fertile smell. It smells of life growing. Along the banks, tall thickets of papyrus reeds sway in the wind, rustle, swish. Their feathery heads nod together. They are the paper of the scribes waiting to be harvested. They are the ropes of the haulers waiting to be twisted. The river provides everything. You notice a man sitting on the edge of the dock, his feet dangling near the water. He is a harbor master, perhaps, or just a worker on a break. He is watching the flow. The river is a source of meditation for him. It never stops. It never hurries. It has flowed like this since the beginning of time, and it will flow like this long after the pyramid is finished. He sees a piece of driftwood floating by. He watches it turn slowly in an eddy, then catch the main current and accelerate. He is measuring the speed of the day. The sound of the oars fades in the distance. Creak, splash, creak, splash. It becomes a faint heartbeat on the water. You feel the coolness of the riverside air. It is a relief after the heat of the quarry. The evaporation from the vast surface of the Nile acts like a giant air cooler. The breeze touches your skin, damp and refreshing. You see a small fishing skiff darting between the heavy barges. It is made of bound reeds, light like a cork. The fisherman throws a net. Swish, splash. The net spreads out like a spider web and sinks. He waits. He pulls. The river feeds the builders. There is a sense of connection here. This water touches the deep south of Africa. It touches the delta in the north. It connects the granite quarries of Aswan to this sandy plain of Giza. It is the liquid road. You realize that the pyramid is not just built on sand. It is built on water. The buoyancy of the river takes the weight of the stone. The river shoulders the burden. Watch the wake of the departed barge. The waves roll out in long V-shaped lines. They travel across the dark water until they hit the bank. Wash, wash. They rock the reeds gently. The energy of the boat is transferred to the land. The sun glints off the water, creating 1,000 dancing stars of light. It is dazzling. It creates a dreamlike quality. The boundary between the water and the sky blurs. The boats seem to be floating in light. The river moves on. It flows past the dock. It flows past the camp. It flows past the history being made. It is the constant background hum of this world. It is the familiar clock that never needs winding. Stay here for a moment. Let the rhythm of the water slow your own breathing. Like a boat drifting on the current. No effort, just flow. The barge disappears around the bend of the river, but the river remains, steady, deep, eternal.
The sun has climbed the ladder of the sky and now stands at its absolute zenith. It is the white hour. The shadows that stretched long and dramatic in the morning have shrunk, hiding beneath the stones and the soles of sandals. The heat is a physical weight pressing down on the plateau, turning the air above the limestone into a shimmering, watery haze. The river we just left is a band of blinding silver. The quarry is a bowl of light. And so the work pauses. It is a natural law of the desert. When the sun rules, the human retreats. You hear the signal drift across the site, not a drum this time, but a call, a long, undulating cry from the foreman, tasked from throat to throat. The camp transforms. The activity of the morning, the sliding, the lifting, the hauling, evaporates. The noise drops away. The desert silence rushes back in to reclaim the space. You walk with the workers toward the sanctuaries of shade. These are large communal awnings, sheets of heavy, coarse-woven linen stretched over cedar poles. They create islands of twilight in the sea of glare. Step inside one of these shelters. The difference is instant. The temperature drops 10 degrees. The blinding white light is filtered through the thick cloth, turning into a soothing, dusty amber gloom. It feels like stepping into a cool cave. It feels like a mercy. The men enter quietly. They unfasten their belts. They wipe the dust from their foreheads with the backs of their hands. They sink down onto the reed mats that cover the sand. Listen to the sound of 100 bodies relaxing at once. It is a collective exhale. The tension of the rope leaves their shoulders. The vibration of the stone leaves their hands. They are reclaiming their softness. Water skins are passed around. These are goatskin bags, dark and slick with condensation. A man lifts one, unplugs the wooden stopper, and drinks deep. He passes it to his neighbor without a word. The water is tepid, tasting of the earth and the leather, but it is precious. It is life. You watch the Adam's apple bob in the throat of a young hauler. You see the water run down his chin, washing away a streak of gray dust. In the center of this particular shelter, a small circle has formed. Men are lying on their sides, heads propped on elbows, or sitting with their backs against the wooden poles. Their eyes are half closed. They are listening. An elder is sitting in the middle. He is a man whose face is a map of the sun, lined and weathered like the cliffs of the valley. His hands, resting on his knees, are gnarled like old roots. He is not a worker anymore. He is a keeper of morale. He is a weaver of words. He begins to speak. His voice is low. It is not a performance for a theater. It is a rumble for a sleepy room. It is round and gravelly, a baritone that sits underneath the sound of the wind outside. He is telling a story of the old times. Perhaps he speaks of the time the Nile rose higher than anyone remembered, turning the villages into islands, bringing a harvest of silt so rich the grain grew tall as a man. Perhaps he speaks of a hunt in the green marshes of the delta. You do not need to catch every word to understand the story. The cadence is the message. It is a rhythmic speech. It rises and falls like the river. It is familiar. These men have heard this voice 1,000 times. It is the sound of their grandfather. It is the sound of their history. As he speaks, he uses his hands gently to shape the air. He mimics the rise of the water. He mimics the flight of a bird. The men watch his hands. It is a hypnotic visual focus. It draws them away from the soreness of their muscles and into the dream time of the tale. Suddenly, the elder pauses. He leans in and delivers a punchline, a small, clever observation about the stubbornness of a donkey or the foolishness of a crocodile. And then the laughter comes. It is not a roar, it is a ripple.
It sounds like pebbles being dropped into a quiet pool, soft, concentric circles of amusement spreading through the shade. Someone slaps his thigh gently, thwack. Someone shakes his head, smiling at the floor. This laughter is a release valve. It breaks the monumental seriousness of the stone. It reminds them that they are not just ants building a hill. They are men with humor, with memories, with spirits that can be lightened. The laughter fades, settling back into the comfortable silence. The elder smiles, his eyes crinkling at the corners. He leans back. His work is done. He has knit the group together. Now the true rest begins. The conversation dies out completely. The shelter becomes a dormitory of day sleepers. You look around. A young man has pulled his headcloth over his eyes. His chest rises and falls in a slow, deep rhythm. Another is mending a strap on his sandal, working silently, his fingers moving with lazy precision. The heat outside is a wall, but inside, the air moves sluggishly. It smells of sweat, yes, but clean sweat. It smells of the dry straw of the mats. It smells of the linen overhead, baking in the sun. You feel the stillness of the moment. This is the breath between the beats. The morning work was the inhale. The evening work will be the exhale. This is the pause at the top of the breath. Time seems to pool here. It stops moving forward and just sits, heavy and golden. You gaze up at the underside of the canopy. You can see the weave of the fabric, the tiny pinpricks of bright light where the threads have pulled apart. You can see the shadow of a bird landing on the roof, its silhouette hopping across the cloth. Scritch, scritch. Even the flies seem to move slower in this heat, buzzing lazily in the upper corners. Zzz. You feel the profound sense of peace. There is no guilt in this rest. It is earned. It is necessary. The pyramid cannot be built by exhausted men. The rest is part of the engineering. The shade is a tool, just as much as the chisel or the mallet. The elder closes his eyes. The storyteller is sleeping now. His breathing joins the chorus of the others. In, out. It is a gentle human percussion. Outside, the wind picks up slightly, snapping the edge of the tent flap. Flap, snap. A beam of white sunlight cuts across the floor for a second, illuminating dust motes dancing in the void, then vanishes as the flap falls back. The world outside is vast, hot, and blinding. The world inside is small, cool, and dim. You are safe in the dimness. Let your mind rest here. Imagine you are lying on that reed mat. The ground is hard, but it supports you. The heat is above you, but it cannot touch you. You are surrounded by your brothers. You are part of the great pause. Rest. Listen to the breathing. Listen to the wind. The stone will wait.
The deep amber slumber of the midday rest begins to lift. The sun has moved just enough to change the angle of the light, lengthening the shadows once more. The fierce heat of the zenith has softened into the warm, heavy glow of the afternoon. The camp does not wake with a start. It wakes with the quiet sounds of restoration. Before the heavy lifting resumes, there is a sacred window of time dedicated to maintenance. This is the hour of the fix. This is the hour of the mend. You watch the supply runners drift through the camp. They are moving slowly, carrying large, shallow baskets made of woven palm fronds. They set these baskets down near the resting circles with a soft, dry crunch against the sand. Look inside the basket. It is a cornucopia of small, necessary things. There are coils of fresh linen cord. There are strips of cured leather. There are small pots of unguents and saves. There are polished bone needles. A man reaches into the basket. He pulls out a leather strap. He is a hauler, and his sandals have borne the weight of the miles. The strap that holds the sole to his ankle has worn thin, frayed by the relentless friction of sand and stone.
He sits cross-legged, bringing his foot up to his knee. He inspects the damage. He does not throw the sandal away. He honors the object that protects him. Watch his hands work. He takes a small bronze knife, a precious tool, and slices away the frayed leather. Slice. The sound is barely audible, a tiny whisper of separation. He takes the new strap. He threads it through the loop in the sole. His movements are slow and deliberate. There is no rush. He is solving a puzzle with his fingers. Twist, pull, tuck. He ties the knot. It is a specific knot, flat and secure, designed not to rub against the skin. He gives it a final tug to set it. Creak. The leather groans softly as it tightens. He flexes his foot. The sandal holds. He smiles, a small, private expression of satisfaction. He is ready to walk again. Nearby, another kind of mending is taking place. A woman is sitting on a low stool. She is mending a tear in a linen kilt. The fabric is white, stained slightly with the red dust of the plateau. She holds a needle carved from fishbone, smooth and pale. Listen to the rhythm of the sewing. It is the heartbeat of domesticity in the middle of the desert. She is focused entirely on the small gap in the weave. She is healing the cloth. With every stitch, she is drawing the edges back together, making the fabric whole again. It is a meditative act, up and down, in and out. The thread she uses is strong. It makes a tiny snap sound as she pulls it taut at the end of each stitch. Snap, snap. She bites the thread to cut it. She smooths the patch with her thumb. The heat of her hand presses the fibers flat. The garment is ready to be worn. It has been cared for. Now turn your attention to the heavier tools. We move to the edge of the shelter where a wooden sled sits waiting. This sled has carried tons of rock today. Its wooden runners are gray and dry, stripped of their lubrication by the hungry sand. It looks thirsty. Two men approach it. They carry a heavy clay pot filled with animal fat, tallow rendered from the cattle that feed the camp. The smell is rich and heavy, an earthy scent that speaks of the farm. One man dips a rag into the pot. Squish! The rag comes up glistening, heavy with the white grease. He applies it to the runner of the sled. Slap! Smear! He rubs the grease into the wood. The dry timber drinks it up. You can see the color of the wood change instantly, turning from a dusty gray to a deep, rich brown. It looks revitalized. The sound is wet and slick, slick, sluck. It is a satisfying sound. It is the sound of friction being defeated. Where there was once a grinding resistance, now there will be a smooth glide. The men work their way down the length of the runner. They are thorough. They know that a dry sled means a broken rope. They know that this grease is the difference between struggle and flow. They check the cross beams of the sled. One beam has shifted slightly out of alignment. Hold here, one murmurs. The other man braces his shoulder against the wood. Grunt. He pushes. Creak. Pop. The wood shifts back into its groove. It is realigned. The structure is true again. This hour of repair is silent but profound. It is the acknowledgement that everything wears down. The stone wears down the tool. The sun wears down the body. The walking wears down the shoe. But the human response is not despair. The human response is repair. We fix, we patch, we grease, we renew. You watch a young boy collecting the old frayed pieces of rope that have been discarded. He does not leave them to rot. He gathers them into a bundle. They will be unraveled and woven into torches or used as kindling for the bakeries. Nothing is wasted. The cycle of the camp is a closed loop. The wind shifts again, blowing through the newly greased runners of the sleds. The air smells different now, a mix of the sharp leather, the soft linen, and the rich tallow. It is the smell of preparedness. The workers begin to stand up. They test their mended sandals. They adjust their patched kilts. They run their hands over the slick wood of the sleds. There is a change in their posture. The slump of the midday rest is gone. In its place is a quiet confidence. They are not just rested, they are equipped. They are not fighting the work with broken tools. They are meeting the work with tools that have been loved back into shape. You feel a sense of calm capability watching them. It is a reminder that the Great Pyramid is not built by brute force alone. It is built by the small, tender act of threading a needle. It is built by the patient application of grease. The mountain waits, but now the men are ready to move it.
The day has been long. The sun, which ruled the sky with such absolute power at noon, has finally surrendered. It slips behind the western plateau, leaving behind a sky painted in bruising shades of apricot, violet, and deep, dusty indigo. The work is done. The last stone has been set. The last rope has been coiled. The great machine of the construction site is slowing down, grinding gently to a halt. The noise of the day, the thuds, the calls, the scrapes, fades away, replaced by the softer, intimate sounds of the evening. You stand near the central avenue of the camp. The air is cooling rapidly. You can feel the heat radiating up from the ground, escaping back into the sky. It warms your ankles while the cool breeze touches your face. Watch the procession of the foremen. They are not marching, they are walking. They move with the slow, heavy gait of men who have walked 10 miles today. They are inspecting the site one last time. One of them carries a small lantern. It is a clay vessel with a linen wick fluting in oil. He stops to light it. A small flame jumps to life. He cups his hand around it to shield it from the wind until it catches. The light is warm and yellow, a tiny trembling star held in his hand. He swings the lantern as he walks. The light casts long, swinging shadows against the tents. It illuminates a stack of rollers here, a pile of baskets there. He is checking the order. He is making sure the world is tidy. He stops beside a group of haulers who are finishing their water. He speaks to them. His voice is low. It is not a barked command. It is a conversation between equals. Tomorrow, he says softly, we move to the eastern ramp. The limestone blocks, he adds. Heavy work. Sleep well. The men nod. They do not salute. They simply accept the knowledge. The order is received like a gift. It gives shape to the morning. They know what to expect. There is no uncertainty to keep them awake. The plan is set. To the east, one man repeats, anchoring the thought. To the east, another confirms. We move back to the scribe's tent. The light here is dimming fast. The scribe we watched earlier is finishing his task. He is not writing anymore. He is closing. He takes the long scroll of papyrus, the memory of the day. He rolls it up. Roll, roll, roll. The sound is a dry whisper. He ties it with a small leather thong. Zip. He places it inside a wooden chest. Thunk. He closes the lid of the chest. Click. That sound is the period at the end of the sentence. The day is recorded. It is safe. It is history. He blows out his own small lamp. A thin ribbon of smoke rises, smelling of burnt oil. He stands up, stretches his back, and steps out into the twilight. He is just a man now, hungry for his dinner. Walk with me to the tool storage. This is a sacred place at this hour. The tools are returning home. You hear the sound of wood meeting wood. Clack, clatter, hush. The mallets are being placed in their racks. They are not thrown. They are stacked, handle to handle, head to head. They look like sleeping birds. The copper chisels are counted. 1, 2, 3. The metallic chink is soft.
They are placed in leather bags to keep them dry. The workers pat the tools as they leave them. It is an unconscious gesture, a pat on the wood of the sled, a touch on the coil of the rope. Rest, the gesture says. You held strong today. The site is becoming a museum of potential. Everything is still. Everything is waiting. Now, turn toward the fires. The cooking fires that roared during the preparation of the evening meal are dying down. Now begins the ritual of the banking. You watch a fire tender, an older woman with a face illuminated by the glow of the embers. She holds a heavy iron tool or a green branch. She is not feeding the fire, she is putting it to sleep. She rakes the coals together into a tight, glowing mound. Scrape, scrape. The sound is gravelly and warm. The coals pulse with a deep, intense red heat. Then she takes a scoop of gray ash, the remains of yesterday's fire. She pours it gently over the living coals. Whoosh, shh. The ash smothers the light, but it traps the heat. It creates a blanket. Underneath that gray surface, the heart of the fire will stay alive all night, breathing slowly, ready to be uncovered and blown into life at dawn. There is a profound comfort in this act. It is a promise that tomorrow will have warmth. It is a promise that the cycle will continue. The fire is not out, it is merely resting, just like the people. The smell of the wood smoke changes. It becomes less acrid, more mellow. It hangs low over the camp, mixing with the rising mist from the river. The sounds of the camp are changing frequency. The laughter and the conversation of the meal are fading. The volume knob is being turned down, degree by degree. Now you hear only the essential sounds. A cough, a baby crying for a second, then being hushed, a dog shaking its collar, jingle, the rustle of a mat being unrolled for sleep. The leaders have finished their rounds. The lantern moves back toward the head of the camp. You watch the light bobbing away in the distance, getting smaller and smaller until it vanishes into a tent. The inspection is over. The camp is secure. The sentries are taking their posts at the perimeter. They do not march. They stand still, wrapped in heavy wool cloaks against the desert night. They are statues of protection. They look out at the desert, watching the nothingness, so the workers can sleep without fear. You feel the vastness of the sky opening up above you. The first stars are piercing the indigo. Venus is bright and steady in the west. The belt of Orion is rising in the east, mirroring the arrangement of the stones on the ground. The connection between the earth and the sky feels very thin right now. The pyramid is a ladder, and the night is the destination. The orders have been given. To the east, sleep well. The words hang in the air, simple and benevolent. There is no anxiety about tomorrow. The ledger handles the count. The ash handles the fire. The rope handles the stone. The camp exhales. You can almost hear it, a collective sigh that travels from the riverbank to the quarry walls. The tension of the upright posture is released. The horizontal time begins. Stand for a moment by the last banked fire. Feel the gentle warmth radiating through the layer of ash. It touches your shins. It is a subtle heat, a secret heat. It reminds you that even in the quietest moments, the energy is there. It is just waiting. The preparations are complete. The stage is set for sleep.
The last lamp has been extinguished. The last scribe has closed his eyes. The camp has fully transitioned from the realm of the day, the realm of sun and stone and sweat, to the realm of the night. Now the world belongs to the moon. The moon here is not a distant decoration. In the desert, it is a presence. It hangs low and heavy, a lantern of pale silver that washes the entire plain in a ghostly, monochrome light. The tents, which were white cloth by day, are now geometric shapes of blue and gray. The pyramid itself is a vast triangular shadow cutting a void into the star field. Into this immense silence comes the pulse. It is the night drum. It is different from the morning drum. The morning drum was a call to action. It was crisp. It was a command. This drum is different. It is looser. It is deeper. It is the sound of a large hand patting a child's back to ensure they are still breathing. The drummer is sitting somewhere near the center of the camp, perhaps by the main water store. He is not striking the skin with a stick. He is using the flat of his hand, or perhaps a soft wool-wrapped mallet. The sound travels through the ground. It bypasses the ears and resonates directly in the belly. It is a slow geological rhythm. One beat. Wait 10 seconds. One beat. It says, I am here. It says, all is well. It says, you can sleep. Focus on the watchmen, the sentinels of the sleep. They are the only ones moving now. You see them in silhouette against the starlight. They stand on the ridges overlooking the sleeping thousands. They're wrapped in heavy woolen cloaks that erase the shape of their bodies, making them look like standing stones. They do not march. Marching makes noise. Marching awakens the dreamers. Instead, they drift. They shift their weight from one foot to the other. Scuff. Soft sand moving under a leather sole. A guard walks slowly down one of the long avenues between the tents. He carries a long staff. He uses it not as a weapon, but as a walking stick, feeling the ground ahead of him. He stops by a tent where a child has coughed. He listens. The coughing stops. The rhythm of breathing returns. He nods to himself. He moves on. He is the shepherd of the workforce. He is guarding their rest as fiercely as a soldier guards a king. Occasionally, two watchmen meet at an intersection of the paths. Watch the exchange. It is a ritual of shadows. They do not salute. They do not shout, "Who goes there?" They simply slow down. They raise a hand, palm open. The moon catches the pale spin of the palm, a flash of silver. "Peace," the gesture says. "Peace," the other hand replies. You might hear a voice stripped down to the barest vibration. Murmur, the south ridge is quiet. Murmur, the river is calm. Then they part. They dissolve back into the darkness. They are like ghosts, but benevolent ghosts. They are the immune system of the camp, prowling the night to keep the chaos at bay. Listen to the space that the drum defines. In the long silence between the beats, the natural world dares to speak. Far out in the desert, miles away from the firelight, a jackal calls to its mate. It is a lonely, wild sound. It belongs to the deep desert. But here, inside the perimeter of the drum, it sounds very far away. It reminds you of the boundary. Out there is the wild. In here is the order. The drum draws a circle of safety around the camp. The jackal cannot cross the sound. Listen to the wind. At night, the wind changes voice. By day, it whistled. Now it sighs. Hush. It moves through the palm fronds of the shelters. Rattle, click. It moves over the vast, sloping sides of the unfinished pyramid. Whoo. It sounds like the earth itself is breathing in and out. Inhale, exhale. Dum. The drum marking the breath. You feel the size of the night. It is enormous. The sky is a crushing weight of stars. The Milky Way is a river of milk spilled across the blackness, mirroring the Nile below. You realize that the camp is small. The pyramid is small. The endeavors of men are tiny specks on the face of the infinite. But instead of feeling small and afraid, you feel held. The universe is too big to worry about you. It just holds you.
The night watchman stops again. He looks up at the stars. He navigates by them. He knows that as long as Orion is hunting, the night is moving forward. He is the timekeeper. He is watching the slow rotation of the galaxy so the workers don't have to. Let your own heart rate sync with the drum. It is slow, slower than you think possible. It is the heart rate of a hibernating bear. It is the heart rate of a mountain. Imagine the sound wave traveling out from the drum. It passes through the tents. It passes through the bodies of the sleepers. It relaxes the muscles. It unknots the brows. It acts like a lullaby without a melody, a lullaby of pure rhythm. You see a flare of light on the perimeter. A watchman has stirred a fire, adding a single log. Crackle, pop. Sparks fly up, bright orange against the blue-black. They dance for a second, swirling in the heat, then vanish. The fire settles back down. The watchman leans on his staff, warming his hands. This is the vigil. This is the contract. We will stay awake so you can sleep. You feel a profound sense of gratitude for these invisible guardians. You are safe here. You are behind the line. You are inside the circle. The drumbeat seems to be getting softer now, or perhaps you are just sinking deeper, further away from the surface. The sound is becoming part of the background, like the blood rushing in your own ears. It is a heartbeat in a dark room, constant, reliable, boring. And in this boredom, there is peace. There is nothing new to process. There is only the night.
The drumbeat of the night watch is a distant pulse now, a heartbeat outside the walls. We move inward, away from the perimeter, away from the vast open sky, and step into the most intimate spaces of the camp. We enter the sanctuary of the lamp-lit tents, where the final work of the night is being done. This is not the work of stone. This is the work of flesh. This is the tending of the vessel. The pyramid is built by muscles, by shoulders, by hands. And at the end of the day, those hands need to be held. The bodies that lifted the world need to be soothed. Step inside a small, quiet enclosure. The light here is very dim, just the glow of a single wick floating in a bowl of oil. It smells of clean water and the faint sweet scent of acacia gum and honey, the ingredients of healing. A worker is sitting on a low stool. It is the young man we saw earlier, the one who pulled the sled. He is tired. His shoulders slump forward in a curve of exhaustion. His eyes are closed. Before him kneels a caretaker. She is not a doctor of the court. She is a wise woman of the village, someone whose hands know the difference between a strain and a break. She is holding a clay bowl filled with cool river water. A piece of soft, undyed linen floats in it. Listen to the water. Drip, drip, splash. She wrings out the cloth. It makes a wet, twisting sound. Squeeze. She reaches out to the man's shoulder. The skin is hot, inflamed by the friction of the heavy ropes. She places the cool, damp cloth against the heat. The man lets out a long breath. It is a shuddering exhale of relief. The shock of the cold against the hot skin is the most beautiful feeling in the world right now. It draws the fire out of the muscle. She does not rush. She presses the cloth gently, molding it to the shape of his shoulder. Her hands are firm, but incredibly tender. She is communicating with her touch. I know it hurts, her hands say. I have you, her hands say. She lifts the cloth, dips it again, wrings it again. Splash, twist. She repeats the ritual. It is a rhythm of cooling. There is no need for words. The silence between them is thick with gratitude. He does not need to explain the weight of the stone. She can feel it in the tightness of his trapezius. She is washing the weight away, layer by layer. Now watch her reach for a small jar.
It contains a salve, goose fat mixed with frankincense. It is slick and fragrant. She dips her fingers in, scoop. She begins to massage the sore arm, rub, glide, circle. The sound of skin on skin, lubricated by the salve, is a rhythmic shh, shh. She works her thumbs into the knots. She follows the line of the muscle fibers. She is untying the day. The man's head drops lower. He is falling into a trance of comfort. To be cared for, to have your pain acknowledged and touched by another human being, is a profound release. It allows him to finally let go of the strength he has been holding on to for 12 hours. He is not a machine, he is a man, and here, in the dim light, he is allowed to be soft. Move now to the corner of the tent. The scene shifts from healing the worker to tending the dreamer. A child is sleeping on a thick reed mat. It is the water carrier we saw at dawn. The day has been long for him, too, running back and forth with the heavy jugs. Now he is curled into a tight ball, his knees pulled up to his chest. A figure, his mother or perhaps an older sister, kneels beside him. The night has grown cold, and he has kicked off his covering. She picks up a blanket. It is woven from heavy sheep's wool, coarse on the outside, but soft on the inside. It smells of the flock, of safety. She shakes it out gently, flap, softly. She lowers it over the sleeping boy, settle. She tucks the edges in. She pushes the wool under his legs, under his shoulders, creating a cocoon. She is sealing him in. He stirs slightly, feeling the warmth. He makes a small, sleepy sound. He burrows deeper into the mat. He is safe. She reaches out and brushes a lock of dark hair away from his forehead. Brush. Her hand lingers on his cheek for a second. It is a gesture of pure protection. She is checking his temperature, yes, but she is also simply touching the life she loves. She whispers something. It is barely a sound. Sleep now, grow strong. It is a spell, a blessing cast into the dark. These small acts, the compress on the shoulder, the blanket on the child, they are the quiet backbone of the whole enterprise. We marvel at the pyramid. We marvel at the millions of tons of limestone. We wonder how they did it. They did it because of this. They did it because when they came back to the tents, broken and tired, someone was there to fix them. Someone was there to cool the blister. Someone was there to cover the sleeper. The stone is the skeleton of the project, but this care is the blood. It keeps the system warm. It keeps the spirit alive. You watch the caretaker wipe her hands on a cloth. Her work is done. The worker has left, walking back to his own mat with a looser stride. The child is deep in the dream world. She blows out the lamp. Poof. The tent goes dark. But it is not an empty darkness. It is a warm, breathing darkness. You can hear the rhythmic breathing of the sleepers. In, out, in, out. It creates a sense of profound intimacy. You are witnessing the vulnerability of the builders. By day, they are giants moving mountains. By night, they are just bodies needing warmth. You feel a sympathy in your own body. Maybe your own shoulders loosen as you watch the massage. Maybe your own eyes grow heavy as you watch the child being tucked in. You are part of this circle of care. Allow yourself to receive it. Imagine the cool cloth on your own forehead. Imagine the heavy wool blanket being pulled up over your own shoulders. Imagine the hand smoothing your hair. You are being tended to. The world is taking care of you. There is nothing you need to do but accept it.
The camp is a nursery now, a place of recovery. The healing is happening in the silence. The muscles are knitting back together. The minds are clearing. The strength is returning, drop by drop, breath by breath. Rest in the knowledge of this care. You are not alone in the dark. You are watched over.
The healing is done. The small fires are banked under their blankets of ash. The tools are sleeping in their leather bags. The ledger is closed in its chest. Now the camp undergoes its final transformation. It ceases to be a place of labor. It ceases to be a place of movement. It becomes, simply, a vast field of breath. Imagine the view from the high ridge, looking down. Thousands of tents, arranged in their neat, patient rows, are now silent shapes of blue and gray under the starlight. Inside them, 10,000 chests rise and fall. The camp breathes as one single colossal living thing. It is a giant at rest. It is gathering strength, drawing it up from the earth, pulling it down from the sky, soaking it in through the skin. You stand one last time at the edge of the central avenue. The ground beneath your sandals is cool. The heat of the day has completely vanished, carried away by the river breeze. You are the last witness. You are the only pair of eyes still open. Look at the rope we saw at the very beginning of the hour. It is there, coiled by the supply bench. Walk over to it. Reach out your hand in the darkness. Touch it. It is cool now. The golden fiber feels like sleeping muscle. It is not tense. It is resting. It sits in a perfect spiral, round and complete. It has done its work. It held the stone. It pulled the weight. Now it waits. There is a profound comfort in the reliability of that object. It will be there tomorrow. You do not need to worry about it. You can let go of the rope. Look toward the river one last time. It is a band of obsidian flowing in the dark. Flow. Hush. Flow. It does not sleep, but it does not struggle. It simply goes. It teaches you the final lesson of the night. Surrender to the current. Don't swim. Don't steer. Just float. The river is carrying the time away. It is carrying the day downstream toward the sea, where all days go to be forgotten. Now look at the pyramid. It is a massive triangular silhouette cutting out the stars. It is silent. It is heavy. It is the anchor of the world. It is not demanding anything from you right now. It is just a shape, a geometry of silence. You realize that you are part of something timeless. The work you watched today, the lifting, the feeding, the recording, it is the eternal work of being human. It is the story of coming together to make something larger than ourselves. But that story is over for now. The book is closed. The stone is set. It is time for you to step back. Imagine you are physically taking a step backward into the shadows. You are withdrawing from the camp. You are leaving the workers to their dreams. You are fading out of the picture. The sounds of the camp are becoming distant memories. The thud of the mallet is gone. The scratch of the scribe's pen is gone. The murmur of the meal is gone. There is only the vast, enveloping cushion of the desert night. Your body is heavy. Let your legs dissolve. They are no longer standing. They are floating. Let your hands dissolve. They are no longer holding. They are open. Let your mind dissolve. It is no longer thinking. It is drifting. You are sinking into the same sand that holds the pyramid. You are supported by the bedrock. Gravity is gentle here. It pulls you down, softly, layer by layer, past the noise, past the light,
past the form, into the deep, warm center of the rest. Listen. The drum has stopped. The wind has stopped. The world has stopped. There is a promise in this silence, the promise of the dawn. The sun will rise again. The river will turn gold again. The drum will beat again. The work will continue. Because the system works, you don't have to check on it. Because the order is strong, you don't have to hold it up. You can let go of the world. It will be there when you wake up. My voice is retreating now. I am walking away down the causeway, toward the river. I am becoming smaller. Smaller. Just a whisper in the reeds. You are alone with the peace. You are safe in the long house of sleep. Let the darkness cover you like the wool blanket. Let the silence cool you like the water. Let the night hold you like the stone. Sleep now. The mountain is sleeping. The river is sleeping. The rope is sleeping. Drift, float, sink. You are the quiet. You are the rest. Good night.